113. Going live in 3, 2, 1. This Week in Blizz is proudly sponsored by DoghouseSystems.com. If you use the code TWIB at checkout, that's TWIB, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse system. We thank DoghouseSystems.com for their support of This Week in Blizz. And also TweakedAudio.com. Go to TweakedAudio.com for high-performance, noise-reducing earbuds. Use our code TWIB to get 30% off plus free shipping on your next order, and support This Week in Blizz in the process.
Armed and ready. Who wants some? This Week in Blizz.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 39 of This Week in Blizz. I'm Garrett Weinzierl.
I'm Brett Speckel.
And it sounded great over here in Chicago, where I could hear myself in my room with my mic muted. I'm Kyle Ferguson.
No, it's okay. Well, we'll try it one more time. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 39 of This Week in Blizz. I'm Garrett Weinzierl.
I'm Kyle Ferguson.
And I'm Ben Spicer.
And this is the show keeping you up to date on the worlds of Blizzard Entertainment, and also time traveling. We're quite good at that. So, welcome back, guys. How you doing this week?
Well,
Doing all right. Doing good. Playing a lot of Blizzard games.
not really.
No,
Not
at
recently,
all.
no.
I've been playing a lot of Sleeping Dogs. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I also have been playing a lot more StarCraft than I was. So
Yeah.
That being said, I mean,
Well, it's a good time to be Terran in the beta.
yeah, but I'm still playing more Zerg. For whatever reason, just kind of digging that more. Zerglings, man, I love them. Can't get enough of them. Almost to a fault.
I can even segue us here. I am excited to be getting back into World of Warcraft.
Ah, that is a good segue. Let's take it. So we are getting something that is obviously going to be exciting, Mr. Kyle here. The Dota-style battleground that has been hinted at by certain members of the Blizzard development team has been data mined from the PTR via none other than MMO Champion, our favorite of the, hey guys, here's something exciting that Blizzard wasn't going to show you for a while. So
Hey guys, I fell through the ground. Check it out.
yeah. So the official name of this battleground, or so they can find from what they've data mined, is Defense of the Ale House. Dun-dun-tst. So a little rim shot for you there. Yeah, it appears to be a Dota-style BG as promised. Got 3 lanes, but apparently it is very much likely that it will not be in 5.2.
No,
Yeah.
and this is all strict speculation. We know that they've been working on something like this. They've hinted at it. Other than the fact that there's 3 lanes with a river dividing it down the middle, there's no NPCs running around. There's no shops or anything like that.
I mean, if you go over to MMO Champion and you watch this video too, it looks insanely unfinished. I mean, there's just floating windmill water wheels that are attached to nothing, and it's by no means finished. I mean, don't go watch this and immediately judge it, because there's no NPCs to be seen of. It's just a barren map.
Sure, but it doesn't mean we can't have fun speculating.
No,
what
not at
parts
all.
of a Dota game will make it into a World of Warcraft style?
Finally, they are adding PvP with a heavy sort of like NPC element, which I like.
Yeah. No, not since Alterac Valley have we really had any goals in our NPC or in our PvP grounds other than destroy or kill.
Yeah, well, I would argue that with things like, oh damn, I'm having a total brain fire. What was the one that they introduced in Lich King, where you siege the base?
Yeah, siege and destroy.
Okay, yeah, but it's still objective based.
Well, right, they're all objective based. Well, there's a lot of like capturing and holding objectives.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. But there's really nothing that involves other non-playable characters, which is kind of the point I think we're all trying to make, and that's really exciting because that's such a important part of what makes Dota Dota.
Yeah, and if you're not
sorry, go ahead.
If you're not familiar with Defense of the Ancients, basically you have two teams that battle each other, trying to destroy each other's main base. In the original Warcraft 3 mod, it was the Lich King Tower and the Well of the Elves. So this is, of course, progressed. Now Valve owns it, and Blizzard making their own all-star version, and it's a very popular genre at the moment.
Yeah, and we've got League of Legends, which is the current leader in esports. It's the most popular game.
However, the way
There's
this
a bunch
game
of other
works,
ones out there too.
Yes,
Yeah,
but it's like Heroes of New Earth, but that kind of fell off the face of the earth.
Sure, and there are so many free to play. I mean, this is a big. So I mean, just as you say, strategy game. Everyone's trying to make MOBA games. I'm just like there have been tower defense fads in the past. These things come and go, and this is the hot ticket at the moment.
Hopefully, tower defense is just straight up gone.
It won't be gone forever, Garrett, because it's real easy on a touchpad.
Please die. Please go
That's
away
true.
and never come back.
But with your Defense of the Ancients, every single game you start up from square one. You don't have any carryover items, money, anything like that. So the fact that this is even going into World of Warcraft, which is everything about keeping what you've previously done, is going to make it interesting.
Yes.
So I pose to you guys, how do you implement this?
They're just gonna remove the mechanics that involve like progressing your character.
That's what I would assume as well to be. I mean, it's not as definitely doesn't lend itself to an interesting kind of guessing game or brainstorming as I think you were hoping for, Kyle. But yeah, I agree with Ben. I think we're just going to go in like a normal battleground and have all of our standard moves that our character has.
One solution to this that I would like to see is that I would like, let's say if you kill like NPC buffs, instead of getting gold or then buying an item or making it that complex and that involved, where it really is a copy of a whole nother game, I could see it like granting you a buff that maybe lasts for the duration of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, we've also seen, maybe it was Dragon Soul the first time they implemented this, the buttons that would appear in the middle of your screen that gives you a new ability. They could implement something like that, where you're getting maybe 1, 2, or 3 possible new abilities with these buffs that you're talking about, Ben.
That'd be kind of cool.
Sure. Yeah. One of the huge things about this game, though, are the waves of computerized creeps that come from each side from the main base and battle in the center with the heroes battling around this fray. It kind of adds an epicness to it, and it'd be real cool to see that in a third-person World of Warcraft perspective. But the closest thing we've had in the past is either outside some fort, orcs are continually battling with no damage a giant demon, or you spawn these units as you've completed quests, and they could do something like that where it's not waves so much as I guess to use an Alterac Valley sort of term, you run, you get the blood, you turn it in back at the main base, and then around you on your character spawns a couple guys that stick with you.
Well, I don't see why they couldn't use standard Dota rules for the creeps. If we have towers, we kill the towers, creeps get stronger, etc. I don't see why they can't do that.
Yeah, I think they will.
I hope
it'd be something completely new, and the pathing and the aggro and all those things, they could get real weird. I hope they would go the classic way because it'd look nice and it'd be the right feel, but I can see why they would use tools already available to them.
Yeah, but I think they can script something like that easily enough. I don't think it's that complex a thing. I think they'll aggro on each other just fine, the same way you would have with something like guards versus like a player character or something like that. Like they've done it before.
Or it's even out in like if you're out in the Grizzly Hills, you've got wolves aggroing on deer and actually killing them
off, right? Yeah. But I think that is the big difference between this and Alterac Valley is that here the NPCs actually have a chance to influence the game heavily. Whereas in Alterac Valley, they're functionally a stepping stone to an objective, or they're just intended to slow you down until you've gained enough critical mass to go finish the game, right? They in no way really influence anything else. They're not running with you as you try and get to the other, the other camp's commander or whatever. They're just there as a barrier you have to hop over at some point, but they don't really influence the outcome of the game at all. Like if none of the player characters did anything, then nothing would change. Nobody would die.
Right. So yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, obviously it's going to be. I'm curious if they're going to rework or retool the way aggro works already. Because I mean, in Dota, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong. If you've got creep on creep, like they're attacking each other, and then you jump in and you start attacking the creeps, they won't break aggro. They won't break threat with the creep they're currently attacking to come attack you because you're doing more damage. Correct?
Yeah, they don't care about that.
The only time they'll do that is if you attack a hero. Then the creeps, like you pop up higher on the threat table. Correct?
And that ultimately depends on how much personality they want this thing to have. And I could also see it being worked into something a little more along the lines of Blizzard All-Stars, where they're really making that game to be its own entity with elements of Defense of the Ancients worked in. So,
Right.
you know, there are elements such as killing random, in this instance, it would be a lot like Alterac Valley. You'd go into the forest, you would kill the King of the Wolves, and then you'd go back to the base, turn in his head, and King of the Wolves spawns and runs along the lane, pushing to the other guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I can see it being difficult to make progress if you have a lot of creeps that are aggroing on you every time you throw down a Death and Decay or whatever. Like, that could be a real problem.
Yeah, they're going to have to retool the way aggro currently works.
But, I mean, that's not out of bounds for them either. I mean, they've played with a lot of aggro mechanics over the years, especially in raids and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I think they could do that pretty easily.
Yeah,
I'm excited for this. I'm really, really excited. I would love to see this. This sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I am so flippin' stoked for this.
Yep. It makes PvP a little bit less explosive. You know?
Yeah. I think
And less personal too.
I guess.
Well, we've been trying to have these team aspects, and really outside of an arena, I never feel like I'm fighting another team. It's always that dick. He got me again because of super gear or whatever. And there will be guys. I mean, I'm sure if you're doing just a random group find for this, it's going to be real hard for them to find a system that works well, that the dude who has every single set of PvP gear doesn't go running past the creeps, running past the tower, kill everyone in the main base.
True. I can definitely see something like having larger teams than just 5-on-5. I could definitely see that being an option.
Yeah, like a 15-on-15 or something.
Yeah, maybe not quite that big, but there's something that buffers it out a little bit more, makes it less of an arena and more of a battleground, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and ups the scale so that we are differentiating, World of Warcraft Dota from standard Dota.
Right, exactly. And I mean, the mechanics are completely different too. You have to take into account the whole legacy of PvP in WoW. It's really, in depth and tremendously complex, and a lot of outside factors have influence on it. You can't go into the game and expect to have something perfectly balanced just because you have you're not going to have people starting on the same foot. So you're going to need something to compensate for that slightly. And usually the way they handle that is by having larger teams.
Yeah. Now let me ask you guys this question: Do you think this is just going to be like another battleground, in the vein of Warsong, Alterac, etc., where it's just kind of it just exists inside the game and it really never breaks outside? Or do you think they're really going to put a lot of work into this thing to make it crazy balanced, and we're going to see this map alone become a new World of Warcraft esport branch off?
Oh my goodness, that would be something.
Where we see this year at BlizzCon, we've got the World of Warcraft Arena Finals and the World of Warcraft Dota Finals.
That would be very interesting, but I don't see that happening.
I thought you were going to ask a different question slightly. That is this going to be something that works into the story and lore of World
that
of
I
Warcraft?
would like to see. That's what I thought you were going to ask too.
Yeah, because right now, looking at the map, of course, we are in Pandaria, so the buildings are all Panda-ish. It looks like there's some Twilight, sort of corruption going on in one part. But I'm sad to see that it's not like Warsong Gulch, Alliance versus Horde, strict sides.
Yeah, no, it looks more just like Panda architecture versus Panda architecture. Again, this could all drastically change.
Axie architecture, right?
No.
Am I crazy?
The whole battleground looked like Pandaren architecture, other than they had little pockets that looked like Klaxi.
Yeah. I was
that's where I'm thinking maybe the
Oh yeah, I guess so. It's just the color tone reminds me of the Dreadways.
Yeah, and I'm thinking maybe that's where they're gonna have like if they have the little like in-map bosses that Dota has, that's might be where they would be in that map.
I could totally see the Klaxi being the creeps.
That's a good point.
Because from a PV sort of from a lore perspective, they're kind of they're a sentient race and they can choose sides and stuff, but they also are numerous enough and care less about sort of the mortality aspect of it. You can't throw zillions and zillions of Pandaren at it. Like you would empty the population of Pandaria in minutes. But the Klaxi seems like they would be sort of low tier enough to the point where it wouldn't feel weird that you're killing tons of them as you go. And quickly, right?
True, but also in the sense of a battleground, you could almost think of it like a phased event that happened once and you're just repeating it. So you don't need to really balance out death toll that much.
No, of course. I'm just saying from a gameplay perspective, you have a certain feeling. Like when you see, let's say, a big Mogu standing in the corner, you have an expectation of like how long it will take to kill him and how tough he's gonna be, judging by the way they've designed the character, right? If it's a tiny little like swarm of guys, you're gonna kill him in seconds, right? If it's a huge guy who lumbers around, you're gonna have a different experience.
It'd be great as they level up, they just get like a layer of armor, and by the end they're just these incredibly over-encumbered little insect dudes that are hard as shit to kill. That'd be great.
Well, and I just want to see humans versus orcs here.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to see that too, not going to lie. That way it's also like timeless in sense of World of Warcraft play. Like if it's like Klaxi versus Pandaren or something like that, then come next expansion and I go back and play it, it kind of dates it.
Yeah.
Well, and I could see yeah, well, certainly. I mean, you go to Eye of the Storm and you're like, when did we get to Purple Land?
Well, I also get there and I'm just like, yes, my favorite freaking battleground, but
that's true.
That's neither here nor there.
I think we'll see Klaxi on both sides of this. Is great. I wouldn't be surprised. There's an image here that looks like it's definitely Klaxi architecture, and it looks like it could be one of the wells, or like one of the whatever the starting area that they spawn in. I could definitely see that being the case, and then having human and horde, alliance and horde heroes on one side or the other. I think exclusively human and orcs, as cool as that would cut out a huge population. Like it would, people have such a deep connection with their characters. And if they're forced to be one thing or the other, people are very unhappy about it. Like if you go into culling a Strathome in the what's it called?
I'm not saying they would turn us into humans and orcs. I'm saying the creeps would
you're
be
saying just
humans and orcs, and the horde would be on the orc side, and the alliance would be on the alliance side.
Yeah,
so
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean that's I like Kyle said. I would like to see this just strict divide, like in Warsong Gulch, where you go in and you're like, oh, this is the alliance side, that is the horde side. Let's kick some ass.
Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm surprised we don't see more of that in these screenshots and stuff. Because if you think about all the other Dota stuff, it's really strictly divided.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what Kyle and I are
different. Like it's yeah.
That's why like every time Kyle and I load into a game in Dota and we're not dire, Kyle like goes, oh, everything's so pretty and alive over here.
Well, I guess
dead molten rock side. That's what I want.
I guess we might be getting our hopes a little high here because it is Defense of the Ale House. It seems a little trivial.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's not gonna be
exactly. And I would love that if they actually put some more story emphasis into the PvP grounds. For people who do enjoy PvE, go there, maybe see a few sites, see a character hanging out a bit.
Yeah,
I think with something like this, they have to be careful and they have to make it sort of slightly trivial, because if they go too serious with it, and it's actually not very good or not very fun, they can get into serious trouble. Whereas if it's just like a jokey side thing, they can get away with it. So I think they treat it with less sincerity intentionally.
I'm fine if it's jokey. I just want it to be really, really fun and tight.
Oh yeah, completely. I wouldn't count on that.
We'll figure it out. No, they've really never dropped the ball on a battleground before.
That's true. But it's a tried and true formula too.
I personally really, really hate the capture the flag version from Kata. But it's not a bad battleground. I don't like it. Just
See,
not
I
my
don't mind
favorite.
that one so much, whereas I hate Strand of the Ancients. It is like the single worst battleground ever.
See, I
Is
like-
that
I
the
like-
one where
so
you
much.
destroy the Sun Gate and such?
Yeah, it's,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
basically
Oh, it
like
drives me
a miniature
nuts.
winter grass. By the way, winter grass still to this date best PvP thing that ever happened to that game.
Oh yeah, totally.
I wish they would just scale. I wish we could still do it and it'd still be worth a damn.
Yeah, or just introduce a new one. That'd be good too.
That'd be fine too. Anyways, in other news, moving off of the defense of the Ale House, we'll definitely cover more on that story as more information is leaked. I'm chomping at the bit for this. Kyle, capital cities, man, what's happening?
They're getting repaired. All the scaffolding, the cranes, they're going away. It's been, what, 2 years, 2.5 years since Deathwing attack, so the remodel's done. We're going to clean up. I'm a little sad to see it go, though, particularly in Orgrimmar. I mean, Stormwind is Stormwind. It's a castle. That should have been fixed a while ago. But Orgrimmar, you know, you got to move siege weapons. Keep the cranes. I like them.
Are you though? Have you seen the before and after shots though? Because the front gate of Orgrimmar looks pretty flippin' badass now.
Yeah, they've gotten pretty Millicent over there, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean they went from like the stick, hide and poop look to like full on steel. Like,
Yeah.
everything, metal, everything in the desert. I mean, I don't know how anyone sleeps. Like or lives and doesn't cook inside their house in Orgrimmar, but it looks really awesome.
Yeah.
So that's why Garrosh is so angry all the time, man. He's sitting inside a freaking solid metal microwave in the middle of the desert. So maybe if he went back to the Thrall hut, he wouldn't be so darn hot and bothered.
Yeah. It's funny comparing the old orc towers to the new ones. It's so much more aggressive now.
I know, and then it's even funnier comparing old Storm and the new Storm, and it's just like you still look not that great. Like, should really update that. I mean, the keep looks so much better now. They did a great job with that, but the city overall, it's really kind of meh.
Additionally, we also see a whole bunch of new mounts come in, which are the Airhorn mount looks incredible. Have you guys seen this?
I want one so damn bad.
So bad. So damn bad. It's basically a Triceratops, and it's huge, and it's epic, and it's tremendous, and it drops from where it drops from the elite trolls that will be like patrolling around in various places in 5.2.
Yeah,
So yet another reason to go hunt them.
yeah, like we mentioned last week, there'll be trolls randomly entering the world in places of Pandaria that they were not before, and there'll be elite ones that will be really hard to kill, and they're going to have a chance to randomly drop one of these, albeit a low chance. In other news, we also have the Swift Windsteed mount, which is anyone excited about this thing?
Not really.
If I'm going to spend $25, I want the most bad of ass looking things ever. And so far, I feel like none of the mounts they charge money for are intimidating looking at all. And this thing,
you know, I'm okay with that too.
this thing just carries it home. It's just like, hey, I got a horned llama mount. Woo!
It's actually, I think it's based off another mythical Chinese animal called like similar to the what do we call them? The Quillin, the food dogs.
It's called a Kirin. Kirin.
Yeah, a Kirin, or actually also a Killin, which is very similar to Quillin.
Yeah.
So this is where they got the name for the Quillin for, and it's basically a very similar animal, just has antlers frequently.
Yeah, you know, I totally dig the Quillin, but this thing, I'll pass.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll have themed sort of locations for our future expansions. And we'll eventually go to Ireland, and we'll be able to ride, you know, Kelpies and all sorts of ridiculous native creatures.
Apparently, this is the Chinese equivalent of the unicorn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, totally what I want to spend $25 on. A
Well, maybe you
glorified
don't, but other
unicorn.
people will. Other people will, like, there's always a small segment that will be completely in love with this mount.
Oh, like the Sparkle Pony.
Yeah.
Literally the ugliest mount to ever be put in the game.
That's an awful
It
mount.
really is terrible. I don't know what they were thinking.
Before we move on from World of Warcraft, I do want to mention that there's been a big update to the Isle of the Giants. So now it's been populated recently, which before it was simply empty and there was like a handful of things patrolling around. Now it is full of dinosaurs.
Wonderful. I mean, they kind of said that was happening because that's where one of the world bosses is going to be, the giant devil saur.
Right, where up until previously it had been empty except for like a camp or two.
Right.
Now there's Triceratops and T-Rexes roaming around and all sorts of stuff. It looks very cool.
Yeah.
It looks very Jurassic Park.
Good. Very good.
Well,
we need more Jurassic Park.
Well, we do have Jurassic Park 4 confirmed this past week, so that'll be a movie in 2014.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I don't think you should feel anything. Just let it happen. And I'm trying to think of a dinosaur with 4 fingers so they can rip through the screen.
Notably, there is a giant T-Rex called a primal devil saur, and it's on a barge. Jurassic Park 2, anyone?
Nice. Yes.
Oh, zing.
Didn't we talk about this last week?
I think we did. Well, you made a Jurassic Park 2 reference with no knowledge of this.
Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome.
So go you. Oh, I'm seeing that now. That it's a troll barge. That thing looks badass.
Does look badass.
That's really great. I hope you go up into the wheelhouse and there's just a hand hanging on the boat steering wheel, and somewhere like a blood elf wearing all leather, talking about that's chaos theory.
I'm sure we'll see that.
There's that. These new devil swords look phenomenal, and this makes this by the way makes the best audio only podcast ever. When you're just sitting here looking at something that no one can see and talking about it.
It is great looking. I mean, you got volcanoes, geysers, tar pits. What else do you want? This takes me back so hard to Vanilla WoW because I think that was I geeked out all over the first game, but it's when I got to Ungo Crater and there were dinosaurs that I really geeked out super hard.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a similar thing. I remember playing with my girlfriend now, actually, back in Vanilla, and our first time entering the Barrens, and a herd of Kodo started stomping by, and we both just kind of stood there like, that is awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. So
what's interesting is I think that the devil saurs actually have exactly the same model they did previously, except they're just retextured and they're gorgeous now.
Yeah, I'm going to tame the living hell out of those on my hunter.
It makes such a big difference.
Also, there's pterodactyls that look exactly like the things from Avatar.
Oh yeah, those have been around for a while, and they data mine stuff. I think they're great.
Okay,
gotta go to the barber and get yourself a ponytail to ride that.
Yeah, so I can sex it with my ponytail to ride it.
You don't know. They didn't have to do that because they had normal sex on top of it. Moving on.
But yeah, it's also covered in trolls, and it looks very, very cool. I'm very excited about it.
Yes, it looks phenomenal. Again, that's MMOchampion.com, hyphen between MMO and champion, if you're already not unaware of that website. So, anyways, that wraps it up for World of Warcraft. Let's talk little StarCraft. All right, guys, we've got the beta balance number 11. This past week. We talked about this on StarCraft a little, but since then, David Kim has posted his thoughts, and we've had a time to kind of play around with it. And we would be really remiss if we didn't talk about it on a news show that covers StarCraft. Because there's a lot of really, really interesting changes going on in here. So let's talk about it, shall we? Starting up with the Terran. So training Reapers, guys, no longer requires a tech lab.
Yep. Reaper pretty much always going to be your first unit. I really can't think of another situation where you wouldn't want to take advantage of it, other than to have a Marine against like 6 pools, Zerglings incoming, because Reapers no longer get that bonus damage against light. Their damage is pretty much absolute crap at this point. They are super scouts.
Yeah, it's not total crap. I mean, the other day when you and I played with 2 Reapers, I took out a decent amount of workers. But now that, I mean, they move a little faster as their base speed. They took away the upgrade for their packs, so that's gone. But their base speed has been upgraded, so it's a little bit of this middle of the road.
The healing is still in, right?
The healing is still there.
Right.
The combat meds or whatever it's called,
Combat drugs
are still there. Sight looking up a cliff is gone. Speed upgrade is gone, but the base movement speeding has been slightly increased. So there's no teching of your Reapers. They are just now, it's Reaper is Reaper. That's as good as they're going to get, unless you're doing like weapon upgrades and stuff at the end.
I'm glad they got rid of the looking up the cliff thing. I thought that was dumb.
Well, I mean, it was what they were trying to do was encourage Reaper use, and that definitely encouraged Reaper use.
Right, but I think, like I think there's a bit of a prediction game that goes on. And I think I think it took a lot of the strategy out.
Well, and this probably hurts them a lot, particularly the guy who designed the Reaper, because think of another unit that is only used for one point in the game. I can't think of one, other than something that comes so late game, it's a late game unit. But otherwise, I mean, Zealots upgrade for charge, Zerglings get speed, eventually get an even further tier 3 upgrade. It's a big thing about StarCraft that these things stay relevant.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with you entirely because of combat drugs. If you make it into a base, kill some workers, get back out, you can absolutely make a reappearance. And late game, when people have moved out to defend their expansions and they're not expecting it, you can totally get back in there and do some damage.
Mess up a mineral line like nobody's business, right?
Yep. Mm. So I don't know, Kyle. I think this is the best thing to ever happen to the Reaper.
True,
Wow,
and I'm also thinking from
I'm
thinking from a Zerg point of mind, where that thing didn't die. I need that supply right now. Whereas Terran, well, that was if I lost it, I have to make another one, take up that building time in the barracks. So keeping a unit alive and reusing it forever is a great deal for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to mass these things. If you have like 2 or 3 out on the field just waiting for that perfect moment, it's I think supply well spent.
Sure, and remember about these that while they're only doing 4 damage all by itself, it's technically 8 damage because they have 2 pistols.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big change. Less big change. Hellbat got an attack speed slightly increased by 0.1. The Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade no longer increases the Hellbat weapon damage. The Napalm Spray weapon damage has been increased from 10 plus 9 versus light to 18 plus 12 versus light.
Jeez.
So fairly heavy buff there on the baseline damage. And then the splash damage radius has, though, been decreased massively from 110 to a meager 45.
They want you to roast some lings, basically.
That's what I'm seeing, which begs the question: how does this differ from standard Hellion? Because that's what I was already doing with standard Hellion.
They eat more damage. They buffer more.
Yeah,
they're less fragile. I mean, that's
yes. But we talked a little bit on This Week in Blizz, or not This Week on Starcast, that kind of losing the uniqueness of this unit.
How so?
Well, because the major difference was a Hellion shot in a straight line and it passed through enemies and dealt damage to multi-units that way. The way that the Hellbat is supposed to differentiate is it does a frontal cone that doesn't pass nearly as much but does more damage. Now that the frontal cone is pretty damn small, I mean it's still different enough. It can still be healed by a medevac. I just hope they don't go too much further with it, or it's just going to seem pointless.
Well, to me, this says you have to have more than one, which was the previous problem with Hellbats. And the great thing about them, though, because you would have your Hellion, he'd run in, and you'd have like 3 of them together, and they'd stand up, transform all together, and back to back in their clump, nothing could destroy them because their radius was perfect in a group of 3, covered their entire ground. Now you have to have a lot more than that because each one really only covers his own radius, not the dude next to him.
Right.
Yeah.
What this is to me is that we want Firebats really, really bad, and we're willing to do a lot of stuff to get them in.
That's a good point.
That's kind of what this feels like. I don't know. I'm confused about the intention of this unit.
I agree. There's more you can do with fire than affect light, and it makes sense that if one unit is good against light, the thing it transforms into should do the opposite. I mean, Vikings are a perfect example of air, ground. And in fact, this past week, I lifted a Viking with a Phoenix. It was very silly, very confusing.
That's one of those things. The first time it happens to you, you're just like, huh. This just feels odd.
Have you ever loaded one into a medevac by accident?
Yes, I have.
That's a weird feeling.
That was that moment for me because I never played Protoss. But anyways, moving on, the medevac, the Caduceus reactor no longer improves the healing rate of medevacs, but the cost was decreased from 150 and 110 seconds to 100, and research is at 80 seconds. And then we've got the emergency thrusters ability being renamed, hooray, to ignite afterburners, because that was just game demolishing.
No, yeah, people were thinking you could only use it in an emergency, when in fact you can click it any damn time you want.
Well, you joke about it, but it is a better flavor change. It's obviously a temporary name. They decided to change it. Yeah. I think the reason it's listed in the patch notes is mostly so people don't go, where are my emergency thrusters?
Yeah.
Did they remove this?
David Kim's thoughts on this just make me laugh. It says, the medevac heal beam upgrade didn't go as intended. We wanted players to use Hellbats as meat shields, but instead, players were just using Marines and Marauders. What did you expect them to do?
Yeah, it's a little early to be blaming it strictly on that, but it was extremely powerful, and it made you go tech routes, which is something they're certainly trying to avoid here in the beta. I didn't mind because that tech route meant lots and lots of Ultralisks. Fine by me. So I can see where people are complaining.
Yes, indeed. The Raven Seeker Missile, they can't leave it alone. It's becoming the bunker of Heart of the Swarm. The energy cost has been decreased from 125 to 75. The primary target damage was reverted back from 300 to 100. Also, the Seeker Missile once again deals splash damage, and then finally the delay time prior to firing has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds. So it's going to eject and sit in front of the Raven for a full 5 seconds before igniting.
That's really long.
Yes, it is. This really feels like throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what's
Granted,
next.
I mean, StarCraft seconds will be shorter, right, than normal seconds?
Yeah, because you always play on faster difficulty.
Still, that's an incredibly long amount of time in game.
Yeah.
They still want it to be dodgeable, and they don't want to use the old mechanic of simply running the hell away. So,
it's still, it's still light years faster than it used to be.
David Kim had this to say, which was, we felt the splash damage version of the Seeker Missile were much more useful than the single target variety. Agreed. At the same time, the new method of firing the missile made more sense, as shooting missiles at point blank range doesn't hit with 100% chance. On top of that, we'd like to test out a cheaper, more difficult to hit version of the Seeker Missile so that it can hopefully see some dodging versus hitting gameplay with this ability.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
5 seconds seems long, but that's what beta for, so let's see how it plays out.
Exactly. But yeah, I agree with the sentiment of this change. I'd like to see how it actually works. Yeah. But yes, giving people the ability to dodge is always better than, making it do less damage but be a guaranteed hit.
Yeah, and then finally, the granddaddy of the Terran changes, the Siege Tank. It no longer requires an upgrade in order to enter Siege mode. So if you put a tech lab on a factory and you make a Siege Tank, that thing is good to go.
This is such a loud change that to take this away would be shocking, actually. I expect this to stay until the end, till release.
I hope it does. I really like this change. I don't really have anything bad to say about it, and David Kim said mainly this is really supposed to help TVP so that teching to mech is easier, or meching to tech.
Destroys so many strategies that rely on these timings.
Yep.
I understand obviously Heart of the Swarm is going to be wildly different, but this throws a huge wrench in a lot of potential strategies people have been working on.
But it works well because those are defensive strategies against the Terran. Whereas if you were the attacking Terran, by the time you got enough tanks to actually roll out over there and attack, you were rolling out for that 45 seconds across the map while the upgrade got done anyway. So literally nothing has changed on the attacking front for siege tanks, but the defense is much better.
Yeah, the defender's advantage is dramatically bigger. But then again, you can get a siege tank out much earlier and cheaper. And especially on smaller maps, get it to your enemy's base faster and do something aggressive with it potentially. I mean, it's going to be a very small window, but still.
Yeah.
I think it's more about price than necessarily time in that case. I don't know. In other news, we've got a lot of Protoss changes too.
Yeah.
For the mothership, the vortex ability has been removed from the game.
Saw that
finally.
coming. Saw that coming.
It was just a matter of time. They really are unhappy with that ability. Mothership Core has been given the Envision ability that the Envision ability has been moved off the Mothership Core and been given to the Oracle. This was a brief temporary what's it called?
Detection.
Detection, thank you.
Yes.
It lasted like 30 seconds or something.
I don't know the time off the top of my head.
I saw people were running into a lot of trouble early on because if you had a group of oracles, all of them would activate it if you hit the hotkey.
Oh, yeah.
Which
That's
seems like
no
a
good.
real pain in the ass.
That's
really
a slight oversight. I mean, there's a lot of other units where they've added that shift capability to move it all at once, but I would have to say one of my most embarrassing moments playing 2v2 in Heart of the Swarm here was when I had a mothership with Envision trying to detect Widow Mines. And the range on Envision isn't so great that you can't get hit by a Widow Mine. And it took me 3 mothership cores to clear out that field.
Ooh.
And I'm just sitting there like, oh my, don't look, don't watch me. I got it, don't worry.
Yeah, so they did a bit of...
At that time, you could have just, tech to observer.
Yeah, at that point, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And additionally, Time Warp ability has been moved from the Mothership Core
to the Mothership Core
from
the
Mothership Core. The Oracle.
They traded, basically.
They traded. But this is basically an AoE slow, correct? I mean, it's got substantially bigger radius than something like Storm, and it's... at least from what I read from David Kim's notes earlier, it's kind of their more interesting version of Vortex that is a little less binary. I don't know if that's the right word to describe it, but a little less like you either win or lose the game at this point. I like this change. I think it's good. I think it gives it's a pretty potentially show-stopping ability in sort of a tactical sense, and I like that it's on the Mothership Core instead of the Oracle. I think it feels too powerful there.
Yeah. So, hey, Kyle, have you played around with it at all as on your Protoss game?
Yeah, well, I've had it played against me, and it is a dirty sight. I mean, if you're running in with Speedling, suddenly that speed is cut in half. You've got some Zealots chasing right behind you. It's quite powerful. Granted, now they're actually sacrificing something to take advantage of those Mega Warp Gate units early game, because you can't have detection anymore. And since each race basically, well, with the upgrade or the buff to DTs and their build time and the cost of that, it all works out that it is a risk in order to take advantage of the Mothership Core's early slow. In late game, I haven't gotten to see it too much, though certainly taking your giant death ball and giving it ability to slow is immensely powerful. Because often you counter those slow armies with something that moves faster. Well, what doesn't move faster now?
Bioballs, especially. I imagine like this basically negates the movement abilities of Stim, right?
Yeah, because force fields wasn't already having a detrimental effect on that.
I'm always just wowed at the fact that games can continue to make these things in such nice round numbers, like 50% slower. And whenever they change things, it's by 5% or to the next 100th spot. It's never 0.2, well, except for like movement speed, but that goes in like factors. Between like 8 1.
We see weird point blah, 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 changes in StarCraft all the time.
But when it comes to like percents, it's never a point silly number. Nice big
Well, that's
round.
because it's already a fraction, and then reducing it like that granular level of whatever, it feels... It has to be something pretty dramatic for it to have such a big effect at that scale.
Yeah.
Well, we got some Zerg changes as well.
Indeed, we did.
Infestors have been changed again for the beta, so I prefer them.
Who'd have thunk it?
They've been neutered again.
Oh, it's a rough world out there for the Zergs right now and the Infestor. There's a lot going on in the in competitions right now where people are like, I finally beat the Korean Zerg. Did I really win? Was that win worth it? Because you didn't get that win several months ago when the Infestors. But anyway, it's a nerf, it's balanced, whatever. It's a little sad to see some of our fine players go. But got the damage decreased from 30 plus 10 versus armored, to just a flat 30. So no more bonus against armored units. This was originally because of stalker timings way back about a year and a half ago that they added this bonus to damage, as well as the murderous, and you remember these days, Garrett, of the murder flocks of marauders that would come stimming in, destroy the main, run out. Remember, that's also when we got a buff to the Spire, because you would stim, run in the natural, run up the ramp.
Well, that wasn't just Spire. We got a buff to the Nexus and the Hatchery.
Oh, yeah.
That was really early on in Wings of Liberty. God,
where they were just like drop sniper.
It was just
sniper command and run out. Yeah,
Marauder medevac drops. It was just like the way to win against Zerg's Terran. God, I missed those days.
Everybody, I mean, come on.
I was gonna, like I said, both Nexus and Hatchery got hit point buffs. So yeah, damn, you're going back far, sir. This is back to when you refused to build spore crawlers.
Sure, and I didn't know how to use infestors back then anyway, but it
no one
seemed
did.
like a cool idea. So interesting to see this go on top of the upgrades for the infested Terrans, on top of the now a projectile, on top of the a range decrease in Wings of Liberty, but we had a range increase in Heart of the Swarm. Things are a little confusing with the infestor, but seems okay. 10 extra damage per fungal. You're not really using them against armored units in the first place anymore. You have better options.
Yeah.
And Mutalisks, again, the naming committee struck. They didn't want that house painted blue. They wanted it yellow, and they changed it from Mutalisk Regeneration, the passive ability that lets mutas regenerate, to Tissue Regeneration.
And there was much rejoicing, and everyone was happy.
Yeah.
So in more ridiculous news this week, David Kim, what was it, like a month ago? I don't know, where he was just like, and achoo, Mutalisk buffs. Well, he's talking about possibly moving Burrow to Tier 1 this time. To quote Mr. Kim, he said, "We're thinking of moving Burrow to research down to Tier 1, perhaps with an increased research time if needed. Reason is to give Zerg something more they can do on the offense early on, so that Zerg has more of a choice of offensive play versus teching. We think tools like Roach Regeneration at Tier 1 or comboing Burrow with Zerglings and Banelings could be an interesting change."
I think it's an interesting change.
I'm not entirely... I mean, we've seen so much crazy crap happening in the Heart of the Swarm beta so far. I'm all for them trying weird stuff, because I love this siege tank change. Do it. Give me more stuff like this. And this sounds like the Zerg equivalent, almost.
Yeah.
Well, and it's...
Tier 1 roaches with
Burrow?
Burrow.
Oh,
well,
God.
it's not so much the Burrow that's disgusting there. It's their stupid, awesome regeneration health.
Yeah,
that would
exactly.
just cause this.
And
so I definitely...
chances of having detection, very low.
Right.
That wasn't
cannon
upgraded.
building skills, because
when the game first came out in the original beta, Roaches had 3 upgrades: the underground regeneration, the burrow movement, and this natural above ground speed. So I'm sure there would be a
they would still have
change.
to research burrow movement, wouldn't they? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so you're not
which is
swimming
still
underground.
which is still at lair.
Exactly. So that wouldn't affect it that much. Okay. That makes this a far less broken mechanic than I originally thought.
Well,
in this case, it's way more interesting, actually.
Yeah, well, you can get Baneling Mines.
Yeah.
You can burrow Zerglings really early on to deny expansions.
Well, it's kind of ambush tactics, too, and just scouting, too. Like, really early on, like, being able to, like, burrow a Ling in your opponent's natural or something. Can you imagine how annoying that is?
Oh, yeah, make a Terran burn a scan that early.
Oh.
Or make a Protoss just be like, crap, drop a pylon, wait for the pylon to finish, build a cannon.
Sure, but you've also taken up your base. You can't upgrade that base to a layer. You can't build a queen in that base. So there are disadvantages that kind of weigh against getting early burrow.
What does that have to do? Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. Sorry.
I'm dumb.
We both, I think both Ben and I, we missed the horse.
Yeah, totally.
But if you played Trials of the Xel'Naga, the sort of 15 level mini game they put out to make you better at StarCraft,
Which is now quite outdated.
yes, I don't even think it's currently balanced. But there's a trial in there where you need to defeat a large group of Marines with Zerglings, and it doesn't make a lick of sense, and it's impossible. But if you burrow and have the Marines all walk underneath them, you no longer have that range where you're running to them and taking extra shots. You're literally popping up in the middle, and you even push them out of the way, so you are in between all of them. You have a double super ultra mega surround. So there'd be some really cool tactics that could be employed with this.
Could you bring up? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, could you imagine, if you will, Kyle, the StarCraft-style Mexican standoff of a bunch of Marines moving up and noticing the Lings, and the Lings burrow, and the Terrans are just like, I'm not going near that, but I'm staying close enough that I can see you pop up. It's just like, doesn't want to raise the Zerglings, but the Terran doesn't want to move away.
Yep, and like inching the Widowmine forward to be like, if you guys don't burrow, it's all dead.
Sounds like TVT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like it sounds interesting to me.
Right.
So do it.
No, Kyler brought up an interesting point of having to basically choose whether or not you're going to make that extra hatchery for the cost of the burrow. And, David Kim brings up an interesting point, which is choices. The ability to be aggressive like this and have ambushes like this is an interesting one. And, it's got to cost something. If it was free and everybody got it all the time, then it would, break it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So.
Yep, and with early siege tanks, with a mothership core flying around, which is literally impossible for early Zerg to kill, unless you want to walk your queens all the way over there or something. There's nothing you can do once that thing's out in the field. So this would at least even the playing field, make things more interesting. I think we're all in agreement in that.
Yeah, indeed. I'd like to see this. Do it. Throw it in.
Super early Baneling landmine. I want to see it.
Horrifying.
Dramatically change the course of the game.
No one's going up a Zerg ramp without thinking twice.
That's true.
No one's doing it. In lighter news, we're getting new dances in Heart of the Swarm. Husky over at Husky StarCraft on YouTube, he a while ago debuted the first round of new dances coming to us from Blizzard in Heart of the Swarm, and had a contest where people sent in their suggestions for new dances in Heart of the Swarm, and Blizzard picked the best one. Gangnam Style was the overwhelming winner. So they're actually adding a Gangnam Style dance to each race. The Queen is getting it, the Marauder is getting it, and the Immortal is getting it. And I highly recommend you head on over to Husky StarCraft's YouTube page and watch this because it's awesome. But they also got submissions that they just loved, so they implemented it. So the Colossus now do the dance from Singin' in the Rain. And
so if you know this dance, it's when you got a Colossus with 4 legs, so it picks up its front legs and use that as like the cane for the dancing in the rain.
Yep,
it's pretty amusing.
It's really the way they animated it is just fantastic. But then the Ghosts and the Overlords also got new dances that I don't believe are anything specific, but they were submitted by people. I love the Overlord one. It just kind of shakes its arms and twirls around.
It does about as good as a dancing that a helium balloon could. So.
I know. Did you watch the video where they showed the person who submitted it, them actually doing the dance, and then they would fade into what they put in the game? And I just thought that was great. Like, the guy totally, like, the second he started doing the dance, I'm like, that's an Overlord.
Yep. No, they called him down to Irvine, covered him in ping balls, shot him on film.
I don't think that's what they did, but okay.
These are really wonderful. Like, I'm watching these now for the first time, and the Colossus has to be my favorite.
Yeah, the Marauder doing the Gangnam Style makes me really happy too. But I'm very biased towards the Marauders. I just love those units.
Oh yeah, no, it's great too. But just the Colossus is so perfect for that dance.
Yep.
Though of course, many people are pointing out right now that Gundam Style Immortal is pointing his guns up, and we know that Immortals cannot fire up. But he can hear. Is it only for dance? Is there something in your intricate alien technology that doesn't allow you, once that gun goes up, to fire?
When a round is in the chamber, you can't pivot up.
Yeah, some sort of safety mechanism, because all the civilians on Ire are all on flying cars, and you don't want to shoot them accidentally. War's on the ground.
Well, Kyle, that's the strongest point of the force field. Were they to fire straight up, it would just hit the force field and explode in their face.
Yeah. Did you get that somewhere? Are you making that up?
I pulled that straight out of my ass. Blizzard, I am available for lore consulting.
That's good.
So, anyways, let's move on, guys. Please go check out that video; it's wonderful. But let's talk about Diablo. We got a patch 1.0.7 preview. And there's a lot of stuff in here. This is
it's a surprising amount.
It's a good day to do news on Diablo 3, and we haven't had a good day like this in a while. First up is dueling. As we talked about last week, PvP is more or less scrapped, at least as we know it, but they are going to be adding a dueling feature. So let's talk about it. They talk about it. They said speaking with Neck, the Brawler in New Tristram will take you and your party to the Scorched Chapel, a new zone designed specifically for player combat. Killtacular.
You're really working on your radio announcer.
when you name something the Scorched Chapel, you can't. I can't just say it in my normal voice.
Luckily, you don't sound like that either.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. Got a new zone. They said this zone has custom geometry and features 4 different areas: the church, the graveyard, the river, and the lake. Dueling currently supports up to 4 players in a free-for-all format, which means you can battle your friends either one-on-one, 3-player free-for-all, or full 4-player free-for-all. And death is not permanent in the dueling zones, and because apparently it had to be clarified, that includes hardcore characters. So
that'd be a little nerve-wracking.
That would be horrendous. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of traditional for Blizzard. Like in World of Warcraft, we don't take durability loss from PvP kills.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Cool. I think a lot of people are going to be thrilled about this.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
They're keeping it free for all, though, so it's got a big subtitle of casual underneath it.
Yeah. Still, this...
I would like to see 2-on-2 where like you have the opportunity to backstab.
Well, I mean, that can just be...
that could just be
for current system, yeah.
Yeah, you really could just do it for... Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. I would like to see it played that way, using the current system.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that will happen.
Yep.
Well, it'd be fun at those parties where we're all kind of hanging out and like, yeah, man, let's do a 4-player. There we go. You're my teammate. You're my teammate. You're dead. You ass. And I'm punching you.
With the way Diablo works, it'd end up bad in the first place because there'd be so much collateral damage. I mean, when I'm shooting my arcane orbs, rarely those things hit their target. Most likely they would hit my arranged teammate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Indeed. Crafting, talks a little about crafting. They're adding a new set of rare crafting recipes. It creates account-bound gloves, pants, wrists, chest piece, and an amulet. They said that these new items will have 6 affixes and feature a primary stat, strength, dex, etc., that extends higher than what is currently available in the respective slots. The items will also require an account-bound crafting region called Demonic Essence, which drops from elite monsters in Inferno. So I'm glad to see that they're adding some stuff to crafting that is really good and only attainable through crafting, because that was kind of, I think, our unanimous complaint about crafting from the get-go. Is like, I'm just going to the auction house.
Yeah, it was expensive and your good
it
results.
Was so not worth it.
Incredibly random.
And they saw a lot of popularity in their previous patch 1.0.5 with the Infernal Machine that you had to build to unlock the special bosses.
Yeah.
So crafting is a good way to give those folks their candy.
Yeah. They also said in addition to new items, they are adding a new tier of gems for those who really want to push the character farther. The new tier is called Marquise, and most of its stats are in line with the current gem progression. So, min-max the hell out of your I almost said prestige, Barb. It's not prestige, it's Call of Duty. Sorry. And then finally, a bunch of gameplay changes. They are changing the reflect damage mechanic. The monsters that have the reflect affix will now pulse a damage reflection shield on and off. While the shield is down, the monster does not reflect damage. When the reflect shield is on, the monster will reflect damage the way that it does now. The really important part of this is that the shield has a very strong visual association, so you know exactly when it is reflecting. So now you have a air of strategy to the reflect damage affix monsters.
As opposed to just instantly blowing yourself up, which I've done numerous times. It's kind of like, oh, I died. What did I die from? That was weird.
Yeah, that's a great change. Love it. Molten and Plagued. Molten, they said, often feels like one of those more threatening ground-based damage effects. Often, I'd say all the time. Constantly shitting myself when I see a Molten thing. And they said Plagued feels a bit low. So we're reducing the damage of Molten packs and increasing the damage from Plagued. All right. I agree with that.
That's good.
They're removing the incrementing resurrection timer that Ben defended many episodes ago.
Yeah, I understood why they did it. It didn't mean I liked it.
I still argue that it's useless. They said with the removal and rage timers in the previous patches and the emphasis on players selecting their level of challenge via the monster power system that they don't feel long resurrection timers really have a use.
Yeah.
It'll be a flat 5 seconds in softcore, and the resurrection timer in hardcore remains unchanged.
Smiley face.
Yeah,
from
smiley
Blizz.
face. Right.
You trolling sons of bitches. And then finally they said they're also increasing the base pickup radius by a small amount. The intention here is to ensure that that players who are actively trying to pick up a piece of gold are able to get it. The current radius felt just slightly too small, such that even when you ran quickly past a piece of gold on purpose, you would sometimes fail to pick it up. I definitely sympathize with that, and I'm very happy about that change. So
There's also a slight change to monster power being made where you can set it now for your public games. So there will be people, the games are just sort of join random game at the moment. There's not really a server list. But still, it's cool to think that people will be able to set up a welcome all hardest challenge.
So when you're searching for a public game now, does that mean you basically select the kind of monster difficulty you're after?
Yes, nowadays. In the past, there was just no monster power no matter where you went, which wasn't taking advantage of one of the coolest Wander-In features that Blizzard imposed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, according to Veneris, the community manager, we're going to hopefully see 1.0.7 by the end of January. Now, that is also kind of twisting his words. Someone posted, so we're going to get this in another month, right? And he wrote, hopefully not, but we are not able to give an ETA yet. So they're aiming, what sounds like they're aiming for the end of January, but they're not allowed to officially say that. So, nonetheless, some good changes, and actually giving me the itch. I want to get back in there and blow some things the hell up.
Well, and the cool thing is that now there'll actually be this dueling feature in that they can start gathering the information they need to implement this as a stronger category.
That's an excellent point, actually, like as a sort of data mining operation. You know what is most exciting for me for the dueling is actually the new geometry, like having a new area to explore with new stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, to even see what they think is a dueling area. And if you want to add... I mean, I hope so, because certainly we all want to be dueling our friends and have that arcane orb miss and go plowing into a pile of bookshelves and it explodes.
Yeah, lots of destructible.
There has to be lots of destructibles.
Yeah, because that would just be... it makes such wonderful Twitch fodder. Tune in and be like, oh, so-and-so's fighting so-and-so, and just shit's blowing up everywhere.
I want collapsible walls everywhere, and I want them to affect players.
I want to, like Dragon Ball Z style, throw someone through a building.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you can do it in Act 1, but it only affects monsters. I wanted to see affect players.
Yeah.
Like lure your opponent underneath one or whatever.
Gotcha. Oh, you mean
the
like
chandelier ropes and such?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, I'd love that.
Yeah, and the first time you fall for it, you'll never fall for it again. Like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Except for stuff with knockback, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing could be more frustrating. Besides, even a stun lock. I would prefer a stun lock over a knockback lock into infinite collapsing walls.
It sounds pretty fun. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's me, man. Anyways, that is a show, guys. If you'd like to leave us an iTunes review in the iTunes store, we'd really appreciate it. It helps the show out. This Week in Blizz is a production of amove.tv. You can see more about This Week in Blizz at thisweekinblizz.com or at amove.tv. Email us. Our show email is thisweekinblizz@gmail.com. So if you want to talk about the new World of Warcraft patch coming in, the current state of balance in Heart of the Swarm, or your excitement for 1.0.7 in Diablo, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, that's thisweekinblizz@gmail.com. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/amovetv to see our live show. Join in the chat room and tell us we're wrong, tell us we're awesome, or just generally troll us. It's kind of up to you. You can follow us on Twitter at ThisWeekInBlizz. You can follow me at Garrett Art. You can follow Kyle at Kyle Ferguson. And you can follow Mr. Ben Zweifel at pixel garbage. You can join us in WoW at versustheworldguild.com. That's vstheworldguild.com. And if you want more StarCraft news, and you know you do, you know you do. You want to see your favorite StarCraft celebrities? Like, who do we have this month? We just had Mr. Bitter on. We're going to have Jonathan from Carbot Animations come on and talk about his wonderful little animations called StarCrafts this month. So tune in. That show is called StarCast, the StarCraft podcast. And you can find Kyle and I both over there. And Ben, from time to time, he'll stop by as a guest host. I think he's done it once, but
Yeah.
we'll definitely have you back on.
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, Kyle, when you're not doing StarCast, when you're not doing This Week in Blizz, where can people find you being
You can,
Kyle?
well, you can find me anywhere I am, but online. You can follow Biggest Fan Podcast, where we followed the fad that's driving you mad. We've done a lot of fads recently, so we're taking a week off. We're still doing a show, though, which means we've selected a random topic, and this one is juice. Yes, I have borrowed a juicer. We are going to be making juice and talking juice and, drinking juice, I suppose.
So to clarify, you are not doing steroids.
We are not juicing.
Okay.
We are using a juicer. It is the juice machine. I am not.
You're the juicy.
Yes.
The receiver of said juice. The imbiber
Of course.
of said juice.
Well, of course.
Very, very cool. Are you going to be making
And I hate
carrot
pulp,
juice?
so hopefully I won't be masticating any juice.
I'm not big on pulp either, man. I don't blame you. So wonderful. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, doghousesystems.com and tweakedaudio.com, TWEAKED audio.com. Our code is TWIB, TWIB. That code will get you double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. They are phenomenal. As I said, I have been lacking on some of my Blizzard gaming duties. That's because I've been too busy playing Far Cry 3, The Witcher 2, recently a lot of Sleeping Dogs, and many, many other games I picked up on the Steam Winter Sale, and they're just all damn near at max settings. Okay, The Witcher 2, you seriously need, blood of a newborn child in your computer to run that thing at Ultra.
Yeah, that one's kind of ridiculous.
But I have it at damn near Ultra, and it's running smooth as butter.
Europeans don't know how to optimize.
Yeah, it ran on Ultra. It was just a low enough frame rate that it was bothering me, so I just backed it off a little bit, and now it's so smooth.
I hate that because it's like a mosquito in the room, and you can forget about it for a little bit, but every time you walk in the city, you're like, no, you can do. Damn it! Well, maybe if I change this, I'm gonna log out, or maybe if I install this. Okay, I drive myself insane.
Yeah. But hey, mine's older, man. You pick up a new one, it's got a video card that puts mine to shame. So go check them out at StockHouseSystems.com. The code is TWIB, TWIB. Get your double memory. And also that same code, 30% off, free shipping on your entire order of tweaked audio earbuds. They're awesome. I love them. I've got a bunch sitting here. Look at them all. Yeah, I got a care package. We will be giving some of these away. Haven't decided what I want to make you guys do yet to win some tweaked audio earbuds. So
abusive.
once we figure out a way to, in a friendly, lighthearted, fun way, make you jump through hoops, we'll let you know. You get yourself a couple free pairs. But in the meantime, head on over to tweakedaudio.com. Pick yourselves up a couple pairs for 30% off discount and free shipping with our code TWIB. We thank them very much for their support. Now I'm going to go and beat Sleeping Dogs on all high settings because it's gorgeous. Anyways, we'll see you next week. Episode 40. We're hitting the big 4-0 on This Week in Blizz next week. See you then.
Take care.
Take it easy.